Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 12, and this episode is called Say Yes. And this episode came out on March 5th, 2017. Now, this episode, I would say, had kind of three side stories. Um, I wouldn't say it probably had three, though. I would say mainly it had two main ones. There was one that was like a very small one that's obviously going to be big, building um, to a bigger storyline at a later episode, at a later time in this season. But I'm just going to kind of talk about the really like the main thing that happened um, in this episode. So the episode opens up with Rick and Michonne, and pretty much the opening part of the episode was kind of like a montage of um, Rick and Michonne scavenging, trying to get guns for the scavengers, so that way they will help them face the saviors um, later on down the road, and um, so it shows a montage of that, and every time they go to a new place, they end up having sex, because obviously they were in a relationship, um, and they stole highlights like they went and stole something from a garage, or they killed a couple of walkers. They stole like a couple of people that were just out golfing, all of their supplies, and um, eventually, I don't remember exactly like where it leaded to, but um, Michonne wants to go back, and Rick just wants to wait a couple more days. I think he's pretty much he stalls for time every time she asks him, um, and he pretty much wants to get more so that way they would be able to be prepared for their fight against the saviors, and that way the scavengers will help them. And um, Rick and Michonne driving around. Michonne was driving the car at one point, and Rick was sleeping. And Michonne was going to shoot a deer because they were actually remembered from episode 4, where Michonne had to give up her deer to the saviors. So Rick kind of tells her that he owes her. So Rick feels like he owes her a deal, and they go to a carnival where a bunch of people have guns because they murder a zombie or a walker to get a gun, and they see that when they go and they stand on like a school bus, and they go and stand on it and find that there's a ton of walkers, and realize that they have like a ton of guns that they need. They have them like strapped to their back. Some of them have just typical like I shouldn't say handguns, but typical small gun like Rick has. And um, then um, Rick and um, Rick and Michonne have a plan about how they're gonna get these certain guns, and then the bus like caves in, or the building caves in, and Rick and Michonne fall inside of it, and they start laughing. What was kind of funny about this episode was you got to kind of see Andrew Lincoln's, who plays Rick, comedic side, because he does have one. Ironically enough, I've seen him on some interviews and stuff, and Andrew Lincoln is legitimately a funny guy. Um, so what I have enjoyed is we get to see some episodes now where we get to kind of see his comedy um, kind of come out. I do kind of enjoy that The Walking Dead is kind of will to occasionally do an episode where you laugh at it, um, just because sometimes when there's been because the show can be such a serious show, I like to kind of have some comedy in there, and I like comedy of it itself. So I actually enjoy that they will do some comedy jokes here and there. I wouldn't. I If it was all the time, I would complain, but I do enjoy it here and there. But Bashan, one of the other main stories that kind of went through this little mini trip was Michonne kept asking Rick kind of like what his next plan of action is after or if they defeat the Saviors. Because since the Saviors kind of own the crop, own the roast in the world, somebody would need to kind of lead new communities like the Kingdom, like the Hilltop, like the Oceanside, like the Scavengers. And Michonne thinks that Wick would be the perfect person for that. And Wick says um, that he wouldn't really want, or he wouldn't really want to be the person to have to be in leadership for it. We also see that Rick stayed up all night one night when they were sleeping in that building, so that kind of ties into the episode later on. And um, then Rick and Michonne go to kill these walkers. Rick has an idea where he's gonna kill one of them, and then he's gonna get into a car and kind of block off the other ones, and they can just Rick and Michonne could just kill them one by one. And as he's doing this, Michonne's gonna kill the other 8 of them. And of course, this is like when it kind of was a little bit comedic. Michonne was like, "Oh, so I have to handle 8 walkers," and then Rick kind of says, "You can handle 8 walkers," kind of like they're being sassy toward each other, which was funny. And what was kind of funny was Rick really couldn't even handle 2, and Michonne killed all 8 of them, so that was funny. Even though obviously that we know Rick had to deal with one that was like trapped in the windshield, it was probably all rusted and old, and we had to pull it out of there. And then Rick and Michonne get into the car, and Rick tells him, "You just took on 8 walkers. Why don't you take a break? I'm gonna drive this car." And Rick and Michonne push the car, and um, unfortunately, one of the zombie walkers um walks into like a needle or something, and shoots randomly. Just starts shooting his gun that he had like in his pot. Well, I don't remember if it was a he or a she, but that he had in his pocket, and this obviously lures the other ones to come over. And Michonne and Rick hide in the car, and Rick's like, "I don't think that went according to the plan." And then Michonne says, "You don't think, or you don't, or you don't think, or you know it. You think, or you know it didn't go according to plan." And then he's like, "No, I think, no, I know." And Rick and Michonne pop up out of the hood of the car, which I guess kind of really didn't make any sense considering the fact that Michonne was in the trunk. So that was weird that she went in the trunk and was able to kind of come out through the hood. Now maybe it depends on the type of car she was driving, but I'm throwing in the BS flag on that one. And they run across into the there was into a carnival, and they drop the test your strength game that you play where you hit the mallet and then the little thing goes up on the bell, and that helps you test your strength. And walkers trip on that, and then they split up because the main reason they want to actually really focus on wanting to kill these walkers was because they have all the guns that they need. So they at first were just gonna hide into the guardrail behind the guardrails, but the guardrail caved in, and then Rick and Michonne pick up a couple of walkers bit by bit. Rick goes towards the Ferris wheel. Michonne goes to like the color slides that you see at like the fair, not really at a carnival, but at like a amusement park. But not really like a big amusement park, like one you would see like on town where they travel with it. And then the colored slides that people go down with like the mat thins. Um, and Rick then sees a deal, and he realizes he owes Michonne a deal, so he acts like he's gonna shoot it. But then Walker's about to go after it, so then uh one of like the seats of the Ferris wheel cave in, and Rick falls off the Ferris wheel. Um, and the walkers go to maul him, and Rick starts shooting his gun at them. And Michonne kind of shows up, and um, Rick, um, the um, the walkers gain up on Rick like a pack of wolves and devour what we were supposed to have thought Rick. And Michonne's all distraught. And then Rick pops up out of a box and uses Michonne's sword to kill him. And Michonne and Rick kind of murder him. And then the episode got a little depressing after that. And Rick and Michonne drive off with the guns. The only thing I guess I could say I didn't understand is why they did this scene, but I think they did this scene because Rick reveals to Michonne that he really doesn't know what's next. The only thing that he really knows is that we're gonna fight the saviors and we're gonna beat the saviors. And he says that Michonne's the one that kind of brought him out of his funk that he was. That you made me realize that fighting for life makes life worth living. And that when we and that we're gonna make this world a safer place for everybody. And Michonne then tells Rick that, and Rick even tells Michonne that he hasn't been sleeping lately because he's been thinking of all the friends that they've lost, and he especially kind of thought of Glenn because Glenn was there for him in the start when and saved him his life, which he literally did. He saved him in the second episode of season 1, and he wasn't able to save Glenn when Glenn needed him the most. And then Michonne reveals that when that she thought Rick had gotten mauled by the walkers when they were all mauling at him and eating him. And it makes her afraid to have to live life without Rick. And Rick says that they can't think about that when we go into this war, a lot of people are going to die. And that some of only one of us or neither of us are going to make it. But it's not really about us. It's about making this world a better place for Carl, for Judith, for Glenn and Maggie's baby, everybody. And then they kiss and make up and everything. And I like this scene a lot. It kind of made it feel like important. Now, because they keep talking about this, I expect like a ton of people to die when they do this battle with the Rick's group, Alexandria. And obviously, we know the kingdom is somehow going to get involved, and we know the Hilltop will get involved, and we also know that maybe the Scavengers is definitely getting involved. But I expect a lot. I think a lot of people probably should die when this does happen. I'm assuming that when that fight happens, it's going to be like a 2-part episode where they're both going to be an hour long, just because of how much they're building to this fight. So I'm actually got to say I'm looking forward to that fight. And then what happens is Rick gives the guns to the scavengers, and we find out that the scavengers wanted kind of double. They wanted double the guns because they had a lot of guns, but they wanted guns also for themselves versus just guns that they're going to use to help Rick's group fight the saviors. So Rick has to go get more, and he needs some guns to go get them. And yeah, Michonne then says that we have a few more days to go get him. So obviously this ended up making Rick very worried. Sorry that I'm doing it this way, but my computer just, of course, is going to die, and I decided to do this video without plugging in my computer first because I'm just a genius. Okay. Alright, and then obviously the next main storyline that came out of this episode was, well, actually, I'm going to talk about the side storyline first because the main storyline kind of ended off the episode. And Tara is considering telling the group about Oceanside, because she doesn't want to, because she knows it's going to be like this big battle, and a lot of people are going to lose their lives down there. But then short, she it looks like she did at the end of the episode. Well, towards the end of the episode, because when Rick came and talked to her, she ended up by saying, "I have to tell you something." So yeah, I really didn't care about that all that much. Obviously, I guess it looks like the Oceanside may be joining up with Rick's group as well. I just think the Oceanside should have been completely written off because that was just terrible. And like I said, Walking Dead now has way too many characters. You have to keep track. Like, it's so hard to keep track. You have to keep track of everybody in Rick's group, everybody in Alexandria, everybody at the hilltop, everybody at the kingdom, everybody in the in the saviors, everybody in the ocean side, and the scavengers. It's just too much. You need to like limit down your characters. That's why I hope in this big battle, um, a lot of people will die, so that way some characters can be killed off because it needs to happen. Then um, the other main thing in the storyline was Rosita. Now, obviously, Rosita's been kind of a very. They've been focusing on her a lot this season. I think because Glenn's mainly gone, Abraham's gone, so it's not like they really had much of a choice. Do you really want to focus on Rosita a lot or Taylor? The answer is Rosita, because Taylor just sucks. Um, and Rosita, they kind of went back to the storyline where Rosita um, wants to kill Negan, but realizes that she could possibly die if she does so. So she tries to look for guns. She went to get this one gun at like a abandoned um, mobile home or something, and she ended up killing a Walker for it. We found out it was just a toy gun, and then she goes off on Gabriel because she blames him for the reason that she missed Negan and ended up hitting Lucille by mistake, and well, not by mistake, but because she um had poor judge because she listened to him, and because of that, everybody ended up dying because of it, or Eugene ended up getting kidnapped, and Gabriel then says, "Well, you can blame me all you want for you being alive, but now what are you gonna do that now that you're alive?" So then at the end of the episode, Rosita goes to the hilltop, goes to Sasha, and wants Sasha's help to kill Negan. Which I actually like this, considering the fact that Sasha and Rosita really don't get along with each other because of everything that happened in season 6 with Abraham. So I actually thought this made sense. And then the episode ends. Sasha said she will, but she gets to be the one to pull the trigger. And they both realize that one of them or none of them will come back from it. And they have to have like a big game plan. And then Rosita hands over a sniper rifle. And yeah, then they both and then that was pretty much the end of the episode. Overall, this was probably a decent episode of Walking Dead. I'll definitely probably give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think this is probably like one of those filler episodes that was just kind of there, but it's setting up a lot of stuff. But I did think it had some good funny moments and also just some really good powerful moments. So overall, I enjoyed this episode. But that's pretty much it for my review. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. And make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel. Subscribe to that and click on the bell so that way every time you upload a video on that channel, you guys will get the notifications for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.